Hello, Pastor Greg Mayhorn here. I'm glad you're joining me today. I'm talking about why Jesus came. This is a wonderful, wonderful time of year, and I think it's very important for Christians to understand that Jesus came with a really wonderful agenda. He didn't just do one thing. He did a lot of great things. And one of those things that Jesus came to the earth to do was to reveal to us the reality of the Father. He came to show us who God the Father really is. And if you are familiar with organized religion of any stripe, one of the things you would probably recognize is that somehow or another, the picture of who God is and what God does has gotten very twisted in a lot of places. There are a lot of people who want to know God, they want to love God, they fear God even to some degree and respect God in some ways, but they're just not sure who He is. They've heard a lot of things and not good things. They've heard about God killing people. Usually that's not the phraseology used. It's some kind of religious sounding, God took them or God needed them or something of that nature. But the truth is, the bottom line would be of that God killed them for some reason. They would hear that for some reason God might want you to stay broke. He might want you to be poor. He might want you to stay in some abusive relationship because somehow or another He's going to get some glory out of all that mess. Those are not accurate pictures of the Father. If you want to see who God really is, just open your Bibles to Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John and start looking at Jesus. Because Jesus said these words, and I'm going to read to you a few scriptures I think are very important here. He says in John 8:29, I do always those things that please Him, speaking of the Father. So when we see Jesus going about healing the sick, delivering the oppressed, casting out devils, meeting the needs of people, we're seeing the will of God in action. In John 10:30, Jesus said, I and my Father are one. In Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 14, very familiar verse at this time of the year, you see it on Christmas cards, for instance. It says, Therefore the Lord Himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, meaning God with us. So when you look at Jesus in action, you're seeing God in action because Jesus was God with us. Now, it's important who paints your picture of God. And you might say, what do you mean, who paints my picture? Well, whoever you have listened to and whoever you are listening to tell you about God, they are in essence painting your picture of God. And so it's very important that you get that picture painted accurately. You know, in my own life, of course, I used to have plenty of hair, and I joke about it, but I used to have a lot of hair, and it left me. Most all of it left me. Well, you know, if you were going to paint a picture of me today, you wouldn't paint a picture of a lot of hair up there. It wouldn't really be accurate. And the same way with God. If we're going to paint a picture of God, if we're going to see who God really is, it needs to be an accurate picture so we can recognize Him. And I want to say it again. When you see Jesus in the Bible, you're seeing the Father in action. That's one of the reasons Jesus came to the earth, was to reveal the Father to us. And so as we celebrate this marvelous time of the year, I encourage you to spend time worshiping God, praising God, and thanking God for being the good God that He is.